Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's ARAEL.
From the future, by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Okay.
Welcome to Answers from the Universe. Jessica's just finishing up a manic call. I've had the same thing all day. I've been trying to get on with things and people have been calling me.
We'll be able to see you, but it's not going to go out video.
She's not got her headphones on, so she can't hear what I'm saying, but she doesn't know that we're actually on the air already. And so she's just talking to one of the guests that we're going to have further down the station, further down the show. So we'll be connecting with Jessica anyway. I mean, as I said, this is exactly what today's been. I've been trying to do one thing. You had one job, and
take a look.
And I've been getting phone call after conversation, after phone call, after message, after, please listen to this, please listen to this, I need to talk to you, I need to do this, all day. So, it's not stopping. and you see, this guy doesn't know that Jessica's supposed to be on air at this moment. And, so, we'll see.
Alright, I have to go.
You do have to go, Jess.
Bye.
Oh, I love it. Jess, are you back with us? You haven't got the headphones in yet. See, she can't hear us because she's not got her headphones on, but we can hear it through her microphone. It's a good thing she's not swearing or saying anything nasty about anybody. Jess, are you back? Oh, she's gone. Just hung up the call. So that's good, because at least... There, Jess, are you back? Okay. We got Jessica now. Oh, wow, what a day. It's been mad. It's been totally mad. Mercury is well and truly rolling down its retrograde hill, pulling everybody down with it. So everything to do with communication will be not as you expected. So, welcome, Jessica, to your show.
Well, I'm happy to be here. And, I always say that Mercury in retrograde never affects me because I was born on Mercury in retrograde. So,
all right. So you're in a calm pool while everything around you is going chaos.
Chaos. Right? Yeah, that usually doesn't set me off balance. Other things do, but that doesn't. So that's one plus of my existence. But anyhow, I'm happy to be here, JP. I'm really, really happy to be here. We have an interesting guest today, but also, I was hoping that Audrey may join us later on, and we will have Tony Woody, who's going to be joining us, has a beautiful testimony. And maybe, we may have Amy come in briefly, too. It depends on how we get through everything. So,
wow, big family joining.
Big family joining, yeah. I feel a little bit like the Max Steel show here. We get a little bit of all sorts of people and a big cast of people talking about different things. So, makes it interesting, doesn't it? And, hello to Max and Nicole. Oh, we had fun on the show last night, and it was really interesting too. They were talking about that very advanced technology, which would really, really help with pollution and removal of emissions on the planet. So, it's something to listen to. It was a great show last night. Take a listen to it. And, so for today, I have, 3 messages. One from Andronicus, one from Rodan, and one from Metis. And, JP.
Yes, my darling.
Are you prepared
Never.
to hear about Another lifetime.
I'm never prepared for anything that comes up in Answers from the Universe. It's like, I just lay myself open, vulnerable, in an open-hearted space, allowing whatever comes through to come through, and then I look back and say, oh my God, did I just do that?
Yes.
did that just come through me? Anyway, so, I'm just preparing, just getting the Word documents up there. And where would you like to start today?
Let's see. Why don't we're going to start with Rodan.
Okay.
And let's see.
Let's assume the close mic position.
See if there's anything else that we needed to discuss before we get into that.
How's website? Any new website?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, have you do we have any Olivia updates? We need to have Olivia come on occasion to say what's going on
on occasion. Yeah, but not today. I think everything's getting a bit busy. I mean, I'm getting really as I say, majorly busy. Because I'm going to go away. So I've got a week and then I'll have a backlog that I'll never catch up with. But, that's what going away is about. It's like, that's why you go away on a holiday, to relax.
Yes.
To relax. And then the whole world falls apart because you're holding it up. Really? No, I don't think so. What's lovely about going away is it creates a vacuum. And into a vacuum, people step in. And that's the next layer, the next generation of radio hosts and radio guests and producers and moderators. That's what happens. You have to step away. Sometimes you step away because you just have to, and then people step in. Sometimes you have to step away because you've been ill, it's like, well, you need to take holiday, So we'll see what happens in the vacuum that is caused by my disappearance.
You can get ill if you don't take a break every now and then.
That's what happens. That's why you get ill. Yeah, that's what illness is.
And sometimes I get information overload. I imagine that you get the same. Doing all the different radio shows and listening to all different types of ideas and perspectives. And, we all do this. We're all like interacting with one another unless you're living as a hermit in a bubble somewhere.
Even if you've got internet, it's impossible.
The inner hearing, right? Just going, blah, 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 the monkey mind or whatever you call it. And, but the quietness, some people are, separated from a lot. Some people are just entrenched in television, which I hope you're not. Or, some people are listening to the radio all the time. At least get something positive, whatever you're doing. I'm not going to sit here and be in judgment, but do something positive. Feed your soul, feed yourself. Eat well, love the planet, love everything around you, and if it's not in a loving space, and find a space that is loving, and be in harmony. If it's raining, it's snowing, whatever the weather is, try to adjust and flow with it. Resistance is what creates the most pain. So anyhow, I'm not here to go on and on about that sort of thing, but I just try to, be in the moment. And, seize the day, whatever it is. Take this moment to make some changes. If you don't like something in your life, do something different. Don't stay in that same mode. Believe me, I've had many, many opportunities to get stuck in a way of thinking, a lifestyle, with people in my life that weren't compatible. You can get easily stuck in these situations, and you have to figure out what is the highest and the best, and is this the experience that you want to continue? Or I don't think anyone can keep anything in one space. It has to flow, and it's going to flow in one direction or another, so make your choices. This is your life. Experience your life the way you want it. And I would say that this is the life like Andronicus. Andronicus does what feels right to him. And sometimes you hurt people along the way. You try not to do that. Be mindful of that. But also be mindful that this is part of your journey and your life experience. And find the people that are already on the same path as you. It makes it easier. Instead of trying to wrangle people into what you're doing or try to convince them to do something other than what they're supposed to do. So you want to always be in harmony. And if you have children, allow them to experience and flow and do the things they need to do as well. So on this occasion, JP, you are going in your flow, and you are going off on a little journey, and then you'll be back, and you know what? Because you had rest, you'll be able to catch up with everything, and it will all be fine. Everything, we're just going to set that intention for you, okay, JP?
Tempus fugit, carpe diem.
Okay.
Time flies, seize the day.
Yes.
I don't know why I came out with a bit of Latin there, but there we go. I think I got away with it. So yes, it's, these are very, very, very exciting times, and people are very, very excited. And, sometimes they get a bit overexcited and they talk too much. And, I think if we can all kind of, even myself, even though I'm supposed to, be careful. No, when I say be careful, perhaps, one has to restrain oneself, essentially. So when you're speaking to somebody, don't go from hello to Nazis are running the world immediately. You can start off with, how's your cat? How are your children? How's the family? Just ease people into it, because what people are doing, they're discovering new things, they're discovering the truth about things, and they're running around screaming like headless chickens. No? Do headless chickens scream? No, I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway.
I'm sure they do.
That terrible image, sorry. But they're running around. And I was thinking about this today, that emotion is a great thing. Our future contains emotion. The real, true, good human future contains emotion. But unrestrained emotion is not only dangerous, it's deadly. And you can see exactly what happens with unrestrained emotion in what we call road rage, or indeed your American police force. Unrestrained emotion, insufficient spirituality.
Believe me, it's everywhere. It's even in the corporate world, JP.
Oh, well, especially in the corporate world.
And not only that, just on the roads.
Yeah.
Road rage.
Road rage. It's mad. Yeah, people are insane at the moment.
It's not fun.
No.
Well, it's sort of fun, but it's crazy. It's crazy. It's really like...
Are you a fast driver? Do you kind of zoom around in your van? Is it a van you drive or a car?
I have a van. I have a Toyota. I drive in different things, and yeah, you know what it is? It's like quick reactions. It's always a defensive mode. I'm at the point where I can kind of look and say, all right, that one, I need to keep an eye on that one right over there. See them kind of swerving, not paying attention, not really, looking around, and then, oh gosh, just takes 2 seconds for these people.
Do you drive like Jason Bourne, I see every car has got a value on it, danger value, and it's completely,
Yeah, you do. You actually do, especially if you're right in the city. And, people are trying to get somewhere, and they're like, well, they're driving as if they can drive through you. And I know that we're in a quantum field, but, not in this 3D space. It's not happening.
Brightly colored cars are very useful. Yeah, really, brightly colored cars, yellow cars, red cars?
No, actually, they're a distraction.
Really?
They did a study, and they said the bright cars actually draw in attention.
Red cars?
People will stare at it and drive toward it.
Ah, interesting.
Okay. Yeah, so they say
see,
that.
There's always been a kind of lore about red cars, because in London, right? It was a London thing. In when I was growing up, it's like, oh, so and so had an accident. Oh, right, red car, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely something.
Probably the most ticketed.
Oh, really?
Because a little bit over the speed limit, a red car really stands out. So guess what color my car is?
Silver grey.
Silver gray. Blend in with the cement,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
Oh boy.
Tarmac color. Anyway, should we speak to our brothers and sisters today?
Yes, we should.
Well, our
All
brothers
right,
here.
Yeah.
Rodan. So, I can see what's happening around you. All is being taken into account. I'm watchful and weary to discover the same ones over and over again committing offences while believing they are free of responsibilities for their action. It is a troublesome reality. The heart is exposed in the light, and yet the facade of the false light has so many tricked and deceived. The innocent are always the target of the offences. I have been burdened by this for so long, and I'm wondering why there is such an abuse of power and cruelty still on this planet. Do they think that I will look away and not acknowledge their wrongdoing, or possibly do they just not remember who they are and why they're here? It's a day of reckoning, awakening. Another veil is yet removed. You are my window. I'm watching through you. Allow them to come and show their face to me. Now, for other matters at hand. I'm a friend to humanity. I don't flaunt my power. I don't flaunt my knowledge. I live simplicity of truth wherever I go. I can change everything at a whim, but there is no other purpose in doing that, other than for the sake of grandeur, or, as you call it, ego. The planet is suffering so much because of the falsities, the untruths, the hidden agendas, the masks of emotions. When you change who you are to be someone else, you change your own truth. Can one separate from who they are without inner turmoil, and, moreover, inner destruction? If you want to find the core of what is wrong, look within, and there you will find the answers. There is nothing more. There isn't a secret of mastery, or an explosion of cosmic knowledge, or a landslide of unearthed hidden truths around you. Yes, there are aspects of science and the quantum field you don't know about, but misuse of this space will not be ignored, and there are heavy consequences to those who take on what wasn't theirs to take. I'm now closing the gate. Only a few of my original judges can enter who have proven themselves trustworthy. This is an earned position. I don't give this position out freely. 2 of my oldest judges were found to be doing the most horrendous crimes on the planet. I allowed you to see them. They were not what you expected to see. There are others in the queue who are soon to follow.
What happens to them when they're removed from their position? Is it like being fired from a job, or much more serious measures are taken?
They move from the role of leader and judge, and then into the human experience within the karmic wheel. I'm not here to discipline them. It is tedious and a waste of my time. I'm here to keep things in order, and they knew much better than the rest. Either way, there will be some freedom for those who intend to bring in good things to the planet.
Will there be other replacements for these 2 positions?
No, I'll be assessing all of the judges now. I believe there is much more to be revealed about their activities and self-serving agendas. I hope to find some who are still pure in heart. Go now. Don't worry about any of this. It all means that things will be getting better as opposed to being worse. The judges were a go-between for me. I don't find it necessary anymore. I want to hear what humanity thinks and says and does. I like that they're not as easily manipulated and controlled as some have implied. They are thinking beyond the control systems and are ready for a change. Be in peace and love. There is nothing more powerful than that. All things falling off my desk. Ooh. That's really interesting. So he's taking the layer between him and the world away.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I saw the 2 judges yesterday, and they did not look like what you would expect. Like ancient, bearded, and all that. They look like these young guys, like in their 30s. Mm-hmm. And I've seen them before.
Do they dress in a particular way?
No, they looked modern. So they were just sort of walking around as if they were like regular people. And they were very high judges. Wow. And they showed me what they look like. And then I saw them kind of whisked away. So apparently they were complaining about me and I wasn't doing anything wrong.
See, this is fantastic.
Happens.
When people complain, you're just being who you are. They go to complain about you and realize that it's them they think they're turning you in.
Oh, yeah.
They're turning themselves in. Are there female ones?
To get in trouble.
Are there female ones?
No, 2 males.
Yeah. Do you think there are females in this group? We'll have to ask.
I'm not really sure. I'm getting the impression that they're males, but you know, they're not human, of course, but they look human. I'm not sure what they actually look like in their original state. They look like just like young guys with, you know, dark brown hair and brown eyes, and both of them.
All right.
And I saw them yesterday. I'm like, hey, I've seen them before. I know who they are, and what are they doing here? And so then Rodan had to explain to me.
Wow.
So, well, maybe more of them will be removed. I liked what he said, is that he's not going to use the judges to tell them what's going on, because apparently they've not been doing a very good job.
Well, everybody gets lazy, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the go-between, you know, who needs a go-between?
Exactly.
Yeah, let's keep your hearts open. Apparently, we're getting through. You know, we're getting through, and there's seeing that we're aware in our consciousness, and that we are ready for certain things, and I think the doors are opening. And we just need to get some of the old systems. It's not just as it is above, so it is below. It's not just down here that the problem of systems are getting in our way. It's above there first.
Yeah,
so
that's where it all starts.
There.
Yeah.
And then it trickles down to here. Yeah, so.
And well, see, here's my theory, is that those with an open heart have a field like a kind of popcorn that's kind of much bigger than the original seed. So we have a much bigger field than we are when we're being. Oh God!
Looks like we have a guest.
I got more guests. I'll see you later, Dad.
All right.
My next door neighbour.
Needed some sugar.
Just come back. No, I didn't know. He's just come back from holiday, so I'll go back and after the show.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, that's good. They've just been to where is it? Finland, where you know in that area where Karelia is. So I need to find out. Did you go to Karelia? Did you see the Shungite River? Yeah, probably thing. Anyway, so yes, I've completely lost track of what we were talking about. We're talking about Rodan and the judges. That's right. So. That's an interesting thing, the judges. How many?
Yeah, I had never considered it before, but I've heard about it. I heard about the judges being there, and so I haven't checked out. You know, I don't know all the infrastructure and how everything goes, but yeah, I thought that was quite interesting.
It's probably pretty much as above, so below, like it was in what was that film? Not Cloud Atlas, the other one. Damn it. Made by the same guys as The Matrix. Jupiter Rising. Jupiter Ascending. That she has to go to this planet that is like entirely bureaucratic. Yeah, it's just one entire bureaucratic machine for the galaxy, and where she gets her permissions as the holograms. You know, she gets these holograms made into her arm. This is, and that's like her key.
Yeah.
That's her identification. So, as above, so below. Those are the one who do that too. Where are we going to go?
We're going to Andronicus
next. Let's go to Andronicus.
Yeah, because we have a few
We got some guests. We don't want to ramble on too much. You know. Standard orbit, Captain.
Yeah.
Hello, Stella. You know the stars shine bright when they lift and float between the planets. Don't be afraid to shine. You're here to help everyone shine their own lights and lift up their hearts to the sun.
I miss you, Andronicus. There is something comforting about what you do and what you say. I feel your confidence, and I think that everything will be okay. Rodan seems to be revealing different things as well. The veils are lifting, and when they do, we will see each other as we truly are.
When the even or midnight comes, one dimension to the next will soon be as one. Two will be combined in a field of atoms so brilliant that one can hear them sing. In the middle of it all will be me, basking in the presence of the most magnificent convergence, a vibratory essence of love, only love, a tone that will blend all living things, exchanging molecules, moving and intermingled as nothing else. It is a tone of creation, pure and true.
Is this in the now, or in another time of the past or future?
It is now, but I cannot reveal to you when it occurs, or if it occurred already, or if it is to occur. It is moments before I step into this space. In some way I will draw you in and take a moment to connect as one with you. I am welcoming others to come also into this space of love and allow this healing to flow through you. It will be delightful, rejuvenating and refreshing to your souls. I know you are sharing myself. I'll speak slower. Rejuvenating and refreshing to your souls. I know you are sharing my messages with others. It is quite beautiful that they think about me and their own expansiveness now.
You seem changed in the most dramatic way from when we last spoke. Here you are in a basic cell. There you were in a basic cell or a square room made of steel walls. You were a prisoner again, and now you seem to be in a total bliss.
I become a prisoner of my own reality. I thought that if I delved deep into people's experiences, then I would understand and know them. A part of me would abandon the truths that I already knew. The reality of war and hate was never my reality, but I wanted to understand and know it. It brought me into a dark place. You think lightly upon my experience in Neptune, but my behavior towards females made me feel ashamed and cruel. I need to see myself within other realities without being consumed by them. It is a difficult task and requires the utmost focus to retain in my truth that searches beyond the illusions, and yet the illusions help me play out the thoughts and emotions I was holding that had no means or ability to be released. It was necessary for me to play through the drama, to then see the energy within was a facade for an even deeper emotion of separation from my truth. Ultimately, my separation from love. I am returning back to love. And then this happened. I discovered within the depths of who I am that there was a duality that needed to be healed. Today I will heal my duality. Beyond the fractures of soul and emotions and blood, I whimper over the slightest offence, only to discover the rejection and sorrow that caused me all of this in the first place. It is simple and complex, yet so challenging that I had to cross all systems of realities to once again to return to me, to find what was within me and see what everyone else was seeing, my duality, my fractured self. It wasn't him or her or all of the rest. It was me.
I can see you in the lotus position by the water's edge in a sandy beach. There you are seated as a monk, bald-headed, simple cotton clothing, meditating and in bliss. I can see the intersecting realities as if the sky has an overlay of another sky and landscape.
This is me on the beach. You see the two landscapes? Are you able to see both aspects of myself?
No. I don't see the other you from the intersecting reality.
How are you sure that it is me on the beach that is the first reality?
I'm not sure. Is this the illusion?
Take a look again, and I will reveal it to you.
Oh, I see you beside me. And you look like Ganesha, spinning slowly in time, transforming as a king in other lifetimes.
We all must transform during one lifetime or another.
When do you stop turning in time?
When it is complete and my purpose is fulfilled for this journey.
Oh. So this is how you end a journey. A long string of realities, experiences, a form of enlightenment.
Yes. For me, this is how I traverse the stars and planets. In the end, I review it all and discover all the missing pieces of time, conversations, exchanges, sight, sounds, breath, emotions, inner sight, knowing, growing, pain, sorrow, happiness, peace, nothingness. It's all a mighty whirlwind of my soul's collection. I am then one with me. I am then one with all I engaged with. I am then one with this reality and the other. I am then one with the universe.
That is really amazing. As humans, do we do that as well?
As humans, Andromedans, or any other species or culture, there is a collection of experiences that can be returned to one, and merged, fused, reborn, and ignited. Are you going to join me in this journey?
Yes. Just lead the way, Andronicus. It will be wonderful to feel whole and in bliss, as what you are saying.
Be free and join me. Anyone can enter this journey with me as well. I welcome all through.
Then the windows to view Andronicus seemed to move back into its space, or I moved away from it. It was hard for me to tell the difference. I found myself back into my own reality, present time, here, in front of my computer again.
Ooh. So that was very,
Surreal.
spective. It was introspective, retrospective, I suppose you could say exospective, but it gains a sense of perspective. How very spective it all. Maybe you're the inspective. Inspective Jessica.
Yeah. Well, it looked like two realities in an overlay, and I was looking at him. I described it exactly the way I saw him. And then, you see these pieces of artwork or, someone's rendition of graphics, and you see those two realities, or like a double exposure of a film. And he was merging those two realities of his existence, almost as if he split in two and just traveled and took these journeys separate and then rejoined again. It was really interesting.
So was it like two Andronicus versions that were the same, or did they have different colors, or did they have, was there were they different? And I mean, obviously there's a separation, and half of them goes one way and half goes the other. And of course, you're looking for the other half. And is this what they talk about when you talk about a twin flame? Is that what that's about?
I thought about that too. But he looked the same, but it was aspects of his personality or somehow a duality within him. I don't know if it was a contrast of a lighter aspect of him, whereas there was that part of him. I couldn't tell which one was the lighter, the darker one. It wasn't evident to me. They seemed to be somewhat similar as far as consciousness.
Right. So
and awareness.
So that's interesting. And they just take their own paths, make their own choices, and zim along and have their experience. And you come back together because those experiences are the same experiences from two different aspects, for instance, or maybe more than two. So you may be in, your soul group is actually just you. Having different experiences, but when you meet somebody, and very much recently, more and more people are doing this, is you meet someone and you think, wow, that, they experience the world just the same way that I do. The way they see things, their perspective is the same.
I think that we have a lot of shared experiences in different times and places. But this seemed to have a uniqueness to it where it was the journey from within and the journey from without. So that somehow he created a duality in his essence of being, and took two separate journeys and then was converging both those realities together. So I'm not sure as humans if we are able to do that or this is something that he's able to do. But either way, he was welcoming us to and join him in his journey of bliss, of convergence.
Mm. But here's the thing, Jess. Which one have you been talking to? Do they both know you?
That's a good question. He's very tricky, isn't he?
Or are you one of them?
Could be. Maybe
are you
I have
the other piece?
The duality. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? He did. Although he was welcoming all of us, it wasn't just me. So, time will tell. We have, just adds more questions, doesn't it? Just
maybe
we have a handle on it.
Maybe every person who listens to these YouTube videos is a part of Andronicus.
Yes, I think so.
Not a part, but is Andronicus. Experiencing himself.
There's a few others. There's some Rodans and there's some Meduses and there's some Borkums and
Primuses probably. And, I'm just one of the Primuses.
Yeah.
And, like with like a fragment. But, it's quite a fun. Actually, that reminds me of when I was talking to my spiritual teachers that when he went through spiritual initiations, there were people that died who were like him. And he would see their lives flashing before his eyes.
This was Maitreya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, not only just Maitreya, but one of his the Shakti's incarnations. It was a really interesting thing because I knew another woman who was very similar to her. And she went through this initiation, and this other girl went under a bus. Young girl. Beautiful. Names were almost similar. Just the strangest thing. And I thought, oh wow, that's the process.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. We're going to have Tony Woody come on and talk about life after or a near-death experience. So that'd be another thing. And then I wanted Audrey to, provide insight on some of these topics or whatever he feels like talking about.
All right. Well, Metis doesn't sound too long. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into
Let's do some Metis. Right. Okay. Let me just get the song into its separate. I need to put the song in a separate place that is in landscape format.
Oh, okay.
And I'll just do that for a second.
Oh, sorry, I did that again, didn't I?
That's all right. I got it all on one page now. Got it on one page. That's good.
Good.
Strumming Metis.
Yes, these are interesting.
All right. So that's as far, I just saw the paragraph, didn't read it. So that's as much notice that I get of the song that I'm going to have to make up at the end, just so everybody knows. I'm just making. My friend came round, and I played her some of the pieces of last week's show, because none of my friends really know what I do here. This is a complete departure from my regular reality, but at the same time, it's exactly what I do. I do voices and I play music and I jam with people and we have spontaneous interactions. So it's just the same. So let's get into Metis, shall we? Oh, hello, Flower. It's so nice to see you today. You're enjoying your life. Yep, still on hold, waiting, wondering, sitting, watching and pondering as you do.
Metis, I'm working and writing, talking and engaging with people. I would hardly say I'm on hold with my life.
Oh, Flower, bit sensitive today? Well, listen, there's nothing to be concerned about. The wall you were complaining about was actually there. I know how it feels to be not taken very seriously. My cuteness often gets in the way.
Metis, you do put things in the proper perspective and make me laugh. I think it's a gift you have.
It's all about perspective. Perspective. Let me tell you, one time I was put in the stocks, well, for being, let's say, a bit obscene. My language was a little bit inappropriate, and they put me in the stocks and threw bloody tomatoes at me. Do you believe that? I think I was in true form, licking my own wounds and feeling sorry for myself for being openly shamed. It was those self-righteous, you-know-what. I never did get into their perfection of belief systems. My view was much too honest and severe. Think about it. Calvinism. Predestination. How absurd. Who would believe that we don't have free will or a choice to believe in anything? I suppose I became too entrenched in human existence. This is my joy and folly at the same time. Meanwhile, back to my story. There was a wench who was kind enough to wipe my face for me. I grew fond of her, as she seemed to have a bit of compassion to my liking. When I was released, she welcomed me back to her cottage and made me a bowl of warm soup. There was nothing else like that. The taste of barley vegetable soup on a damp fall day was exactly what filled my soul. Her name was Bonnie Day. How fitting, isn't it? A good day. And so it was. She worked in the local tavern as a maid, waiting on tables and preparing the food. I once saw her at court getting the leftovers and sharing it with the poor. That was you, Flower, Miss Bonnie Day. I would recognize you wherever you went. It didn't matter that it seemed to you that you were unappreciated. You just kept doing what you do, helping others. That's the way of the world, isn't it? I mean, that is the way the world should be. But many of you don't know that. Did you know that Primus was the smithy, burning the fires and hammering the iron? You knew each other then. It appears you're still doing the same work. I will add that you are still a bit of a wench.
Thanks, Metis. I've always strived to be a wench. And you, the vagabond troubadour with the bad manners. Now I see more about our connection.
Primus got himself into a few sticky situations with his charm. He's much too talkative for his own good. He spent quite a bit of time at the tavern. Catron was also speaking to the politicians, to be fair and honest. He was quite the businessman and highly respected. Even Catriton arrived, causing a major stir, and it almost gave me away. He called me to my true name, began discussing world takeover tactics and galactic wars. They all thought he was bloody crazy, you know. What to do with you all? If I had my choice, I would corral the lot of you and throw you on Mars for a while. Well, Venus. That may not be a bad idea.
Oh, sugar plums, where are you?
Is that your wife?
Oh, she'll hear us talking. Shh, wait, here she comes. Farewell, mischief. I'll be back. 4 hours later. I'm back. Hey, wait, close the bloody door. I told you I've got a headache. I know Primus wants to sing. Here, my head is pounding, and I could use some bitters for my stomach. I must stop eating mutton. I don't do very well with it. Very well. D.
Wonderful.
There's your bitters, Metis. The note of D is the note for the liver, and he's obviously been overindulging, being a roguish troubadour who hangs out in pubs all the time.
Getting in trouble.
Hanging out with a lowlife. That's why he's got such a terrible view of humanity. He hangs out with a lowlife. Like me and you. The wench and the blacksmith.
The smithy.
Do you know what? There is something about melting metal that I love. I love soldering. I love making solder joints. It's just, I could do it. And sometimes, it's just like, I do all this radio and all this tech and, do the thing. There's one thing that really calms me and focuses me is just, wiring up a plug or something like that. It really helps me to become who I am again, which is, again, the blacksmith. I relate to the blacksmith.
You see how he commented that you talked too much and got you in trouble.
What's new? What's new? Nothing ever changes.
Bonnie Day.
Bonnie Day. And that's what they say here. Well, you know, this is a greeting in Scotland. Hi, Bonnie Day.
That's what he said. Good day. Yeah.
So, Bonnie Day. What a lovely wench she sounded like.
I should probably go to the King Richard's Fair that's coming up.
Maybe we should do a regression on that. Maybe we should go and have a pint somewhere. Ale. Yes. What ale would it be? What ails thee, my love? All right, so should we put a little tune on, and then we can bring our guests in?
Tony Woody, military gentleman. I met him at the UFO festival in Exeter, New Hampshire, and he was there to listen to the speakers, but we had a wonderful conversation, and I was very, very touched by his testimony. So we will hear that soon after the break.
Okay, so, let's, I was going to put that on. Shall I do that? This is somebody who says his name is Jesse, who sounds very much like Elvis, and could well be, well, just listen to what he says. Tells the story. Oh, no, that didn't happen because it's that disc is offline. What am I doing? Hang on, I'll just bring that disc online. That disc online, and that will work again. Nope, didn't work. Nope. Oh well, let's have some Jashaka then. Obviously Jashaka wants to play. This is Serious Dub by Jashaka. Jashaka there with Serious Dub. That, when I first heard that sound, that particular tune, I was completely blown away by it. It's the bass line, this incredible bass line that, like, what is it all about? Do. I mean, it's just, to me, it sums up what is dub space music. It's like, this is music from another planet, to me. It's like, but it feels like home, in some way. It feels like my people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. We're back on.
We're live?
Yeah. So
we usually just go have these ongoing conversations. I don't know whether we're on or off or, I just want to, I do like the music. It's pretty cool. And, I was just looking at some of the messages here in the chat, and they said something about are there bases on Mars that we can get thrown back off onto, or, yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Jessica's got the good hair. Oh, who's that? Lyra 330. Thank you.
I relate to the wench. Yeah, you like the wench look. And again,
I have to go to the fair and dress up.
Yeah, I've seen you before. You've done sort of medieval things, haven't you?
Well, I did. I go to this one high school and I do events for children, like teenagers, to keep them off the street and keep them from drinking and getting into stuff and horrible stories of accidents or whatever, from a prom night. And, I'll be there and I do, tarot card readings for them and just kind of talk to them and dress up according to whatever the theme was. So the first year I was kind of a gypsy on Bourbon Street and they fixed up the whole school up like it was Bourbon Street. It was amazing. And, then this time it was, I was all dressed up as the Lady in Red from, what's that TV series? Can't think of it right now. But anyhow, yeah, so, and then, this is an evil fair. So.
Excellent. So, we have, I was going to say Woody Harrelson. No, we have, the Woody family.
Yes.
You're live on the air. Hi, we don't need, if you want to save bandwidth. Oh no, Jessica's coming on.
I'm coming on to say hi, so
we're just gonna,
you have your hat. Tony. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing well. About you? How you doing, JP?
Very good.
Hi, bye.
So we met at the UFO festival in Exeter this past weekend.
Yes, I live in Exeter, so I get to enjoy that every year.
So when we sat and talked, you started telling me a really interesting story. You first told me a story about your encounter with a UFO while you were in the military. First of all, I'd like you to explain, explain who you are and your military background, and then tell that beautiful story that you had about your near-death experience.
Okay. Well, first of all, my name's Tony Woody, and I spent 22 years in the United States Navy. I joined at 18 years old. I was sent to a squadron in Jacksonville, Florida, that had an aircraft called the P-3 Orion, which is a large 4-engine heavyweight turboprop aircraft, weighs about 71 tons. And its primary mission was anti-submarine warfare, so we do long-range patrols, mostly tracking submarines during the Cold War. But it would also do other missions, search and rescue, drug interdiction, all kinds of other missions. And at the very young age of 21 years old, I had already earned my wings, and I was signing for a 71-ton, $80 million 4-engine heavyweight as the sole flight engineer on board, taking it out by myself in the FEC. At 24 years old, I had become an instructor flight engineer. By the time I was 27 or 8 years old, I was the senior instructor flight engineer for the EP-3 surveillance and reconnaissance squadrons, which means I held a top secret security clearance for a while. And I ultimately did 22 years in the Navy, with over 10,000 hours of flight time. And I didn't spend a single day on a ship because the plane's too big for a carrier. So I like to call that a perfect Navy career, by the way. And my experience that we were talking about was not necessarily called a near-death experience. I had what's called a near-death-like experience, or a spiritually transformative experience is another name for it. And I also had an out-of-body experience. That all occurred when I was stationed in Barbers Point, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu at Naval Air Station Barbers Point. And this was in 1982. I was 24 years old. We were involved in the Rim of the Pacific, RIMPAC military exercises. That's the largest military exercise on the planet. It encompasses numerous different countries, hundreds and hundreds of ships, thousands of airplanes. It's a very complex thing that happens every 2 years. And they do it on all the even number of years. So it was my crew's turn to go do our flight. We were going to do a 12, 13-hour mission. And we had an airplane that had a history of having malfunctions of what's called a chip light on number one engine. And sure enough, at 10,000 feet altitude on climb out, chip light came on number one. It's no big deal, but you shut it down for an emergency, for precautionary reasons, because you don't know if something's coming apart inside the gearbox of the propeller or the engine, so you shut it down, and you figure that out after you get on the ground. Well, the problem was we were still really heavy. We had a lot of fuel. At 62,000 pounds of fuel at takeoff, and we were only a few minutes after we took off. And you can dump fuel, but not all of it. You can only dump a certain amount of fuel, so we did that. We had to fly around for another 45 minutes or so to get down to max allowable land weight. If you land too heavy, you can cause structural damage to the airplane. And so we did that, and give you an idea of the difference in weight for the airplane. And the heavier you are, the more airspeed you need to stay in the air, or you'll stall and fall. So we're coming in hot and heavy, and normally we would land with 8,000 pounds of fuel at the end of a flight. Well, we still had 42,000 pounds of fuel on board, so you can get an idea of the difference in airspeed that you need to stay in the air. We were coming in on approach. Everything seemed normal. We declared an emergency, and because you declare an emergency, you establish the emergency crews on the ground will put fire trucks on the side of the runway, one on either side of the runway, usually a couple of thousand feet down, and then two more, a few thousand feet, and they usually have 6 of those fire trucks out there, 3 on either side of the runway. And what they do is you go by, after you pass them on the runway, they immediately start chasing you, so they're right there in case something goes wrong. Typically that's what you want. But this time, and we were landing on runway 040 left, which is parallel runways, and we landed on the left one. And thank God we did, or I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And as soon as the nose gear came down, we think the pilot put in incorrect rudder. We're probably doing a little over 150 miles an hour. And we immediately departed the runway to the right at a hard angle. and the fire truck's sitting there. And we are headed directly at one of the fire trucks. And I had death coming at me at 150 plus miles an hour, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. And the only thing I could think of, I had a son that was a little over 3 years old at the time, as I was never going to see my son again. And all I really wanted to do was just hold my son one more time. And as we got closer to the fire truck, I could see there's a guy on top of the truck with a water cannon, with the silver suit on, the fire protection suit. I can't hear him, but I can see him screaming at the top of his lungs as we're coming right at him. And when that happened, all of a sudden, I'm out of the airplane. I'm now outside the airplane looking down on all of this, and I'm still getting the perspective from being in the flight engineer seat, too. So I'm now in two different places, trying to figure out what's going on. And everything slowed down too. There was this temporal distortion or something. I don't know what to call it. And we got so close to the fire truck, the right wingtip went over the front left corner of the fire truck. That's how close we came to slamming into this fire truck. And I could see the propeller spinning, the number 4 propeller of the outboard engine on the right side. I watched, because I had the ability to see everything in slow motion and I'm outside the plane. At that point, I could see the propeller spinning and watch the blades gap the front left corner of the fire truck as the plane moved past it. We missed it, but it was the propeller's turning at 1,020 rounds per minute. It's 13 feet in diameter from tip to tip. It's a big piece of equipment. So if we had even nicked that fire truck, I would not be here talking to you today. It would have been a big fireball. And so when that happened, the pilot, after we got past the fire truck, the pilot started going into reverse thrust and it threw all this dirt and debris up in the air. And I'm still seeing my perspective in the engineer seat, and I saw this Pepsi can that came from somewhere off the ground that we're not on an area where the runway, where the plane lands and take off. So there's a lot of debris. It can be debris out there. I don't know where this Pepsi can came from, but I watched it. Probably took a split second to go from left to right across the windshield. But I'm seeing it tumbling slowly. Pepsi, I can read it, 12 ounces. I can see that. I saw this fluid come out and it started to atomize. And then I started focusing on the debris. And then all of a sudden I became the debris. Now I'm the Pepsi can looking at myself in through the windshield of the airplane as the Pepsi can's flying by. I'm in the seat watching the Pepsi can fly by. I'm outside the airplane watching the Pepsi can fly by from above. And then I became all these different pieces of debris as I started noticing all the more and more debris in the air. Literally, they became millions of tiny pieces of dust particles. It did not matter how small it was. I was there. But as if that's not weird enough, the really strange part was, at every single location from outside the airplane where all these pieces of debris were, where I was seeing everything, I had a 360-degree bubble vision ability from every one of those perspectives as they're all whirling and, moving in a chaotic fashion, except for in my chair, in the plane. I did not have that 360-degree bubble vision ability there. I had no idea why it was like that. And so even though it was confusing and I didn't know if I was dead. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to figure it out. And, even though it seems like it should have been total chaos, there was this feeling of sublime perfection going on. And I knew somehow that everything was right where it was supposed to be, doing exactly what it was supposed to be doing, exactly when it was doing it. And we ended up going all the way across the asphalt between the two runways, at an angle, and ended up halfway on, halfway off the other runway by the time we got stopped. And as soon as the plane lurched to a stop, it was like all these different outside perspectives just pulled all back into me in the chair that I'm sitting in the flight station. And I'm like, what the hell was that? I don't know what to say. I got a million questions. I don't know if this happened to anybody else. I looked to my right at Mr. Duffy. Lieutenant Duffy was in the right seat, co-pilot. And I'm looking at him. I watched him slump when he came off his adrenaline rush, and then he looks at me. So I want to ask him if I've got a lot of questions I want to ask, but I'm afraid to ask any of them because I know they're going to sound crazy. So I didn't say anything. And I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. And while we're looking at each other, I hear this noise behind me, whoo, whoo. And I turn to the left, and that's Lieutenant Lovegren, the guy who screwed up the landing, is still on an adrenaline rush. He's white-knuckling the yoke of the airplane, and he's trying to say something, and he finally gets it out. You can see the stress in his face. He says, what the F did I do wrong? You know? And so we kind of looked at each other, and then all of a sudden the fire trucks caught up to us, and they showed up. And by the way, when I was outside the airplane, I could see all the fire trucks turning and chasing us. I knew where they all were. It was just totally bizarre. I didn't understand any of it. So I'm still in the chair. I still got to do my job and get this airplane back to the hangar and park it and finish everything to do with the post-flight duties. And, but I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't know what to say. The next day, the commanding officer took us back out to do a refly. They probably wouldn't do that today because back then this is like 1982. They did not have the term post-traumatic stress. So on the first approach, I got Lieutenant Lovegren in the left seat. My commanding officer is right next to me in the right seat. And on the approach, I realized I started having the, stress, post-traumatic stress symptoms. I could feel the anxiety. I couldn't look outside anymore because we were coming in on the same runway we landed in on the day before. I got that same perspective again. And I bent over and just pretended like I had my hands on the power levers, like I had my head in the game. And I just, after a few landings, I was able to get through that. So that was a Tuesday. Monday was the incident when we had the aircraft incident and ran off the runway. And then Tuesday we did the refly. And then Wednesday, I know this all sounds unrelated, but somehow I think it is. I don't know if some doorway was open somehow on that Monday when I had the out-of-body experience, but we're watching a television show on Wednesday night. My son's about 3 years old, and it was called That's Incredible, was the name of the show. And I'm seeing something, well, I won't go into the details of the show, but I'm seeing something that I believe I'm seeing my first miracle. I now understand everything's a miracle. I didn't know that at 24 years old, but, you know, I'm 59 now, so I've had 35 years to reflect back on all this and do a lot of seeking. But so I didn't realize everything's a miracle. I'm thinking I'm seeing my first miracle ever. And I went to bed that night and I said a simple prayer of just genuine gratitude. And I grew up in East Texas in a Southern Baptist religion, fundamentalists, you know, if you don't believe this way, you're going to burn in hell forever and all that. But here's what happened next. And I said a simple prayer of genuine gratitude and added the words at the end of the prayer in my head. I didn't even say it out loud. And I said, and Lord, it would be nice if you could do something like that for me someday. Not expecting anything, really. I mean, why would you, right? People pray a lot, but you wait and see. But I did not expect it to happen that very night. And I went to bed, went to sleep. I was in bed when I said the prayer, but I laid back and went to sleep. And we called it old dark 30 in the military. Sometime in the middle of the night, I don't know, it was 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. I had an instantaneous shift in consciousness, perspective. And I was suddenly in a black void and this golden white light that I knew I was in the presence of my creator I have seen the most beautiful thing that exists. God is by far the most beautiful thing in existence. This being of golden white light was expressing to me through energetic waves of emotion, blasting through my very being. Man, it's been 35 years. It still does that to me.
It's beautiful.
Expressing to me immense, unconditional, profound love on a cosmic scale. God was thrilled out of his mind. It was like he was throwing this cosmic party, screaming to the universe without a single sound, screaming with emotions. Tony's back! Everybody look, he's here! It was like that. It was a massive party just for me. And I know it's like that for everybody. I just know that it was, and I said 3 words. I said, just in sheer dumbfounded awe of what I was feeling and experiencing and seeing. I said, oh my goodness. And the instant I said the word goodness, the essence of goodness blasted through me. And then there was joy and bliss, ecstasy, peace, harmony, excitement, thrill. Anything positive and wonderful you can think of it hit me, all of it. Boom, 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 boom. And I was just like, I didn't know how to handle it. It was overwhelming. I had this moment, I call it the urge to merge. There was this moment where all that mattered, I just wanted to go further into the light, deeper into the light. There were these gigantic, huge spires of beautiful gold, and there was light flicking off of that and spreading out further into the void. And there was absolutely no sound. I call it divine silence. But man, was there communication going on. And, the urge to merge started happening, and I think God did this because he knew me, knows me, that I have the mind of an engineer, okay, and when I seek something to find an answer, I will, if I have anything that will give me an option of saying that rules that out, or it was just this or just that, I won't accept it as truth. And so I physically sat up in bed when that urge to merge started happening. My body lifted up and my eyes opened up, and I'm looking at the wall at the end of across the room from off the foot of my bed, and I could see my wife's feet, and I could tell her back was to me and she was sleeping. I didn't look at her, but I could, through peripheral vision, I could see her feet, so I could tell what her body position was from that. And then I remember thinking, how can she be, because it's like 1 billion stars were in the room. There was no wall. That light was in my room. God was in my bedroom. All right. I was awake, sitting up, and now God's in my bedroom, and I can't figure out why my wife won't wake up. And then I suddenly realized, oh, this is not a dream. This is really happening. I've got God in my bedroom. And I'm like, and that's at that point when I realized that it was not a dream and I'm really experiencing reality here. This 10-foot circle of light where the wall was, the ceiling, part of the ceiling was gone, to, it just kind of all from an outer edges to the center made about a 2 or 3 second closure. It just kind of shrunk in and went to the center of the wall and closed out and went away. And then I just cried. The rest of the night, I sat there crying because I had just lost the greatest love I'll ever know. And I felt like it got ripped away from me. I didn't get any answers. No words were spoken to me. I didn't know why that happened. I didn't know anything. I just know it was real. And the other thing is the wall, because it was still dark, the rest of the evening, until as the sun slowly started coming up, the wall had this energetic spiritual energy wave moving through it. And as the sun slowly came up, that kind of faded away. And then my wife wakes up sometime that morning and looks at me and she's like, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know what to say. You know, I finally explained it to her. I know she believed me, but, and then later that Sunday, I didn't know what to do. I needed answers. All right. I needed answers. This was, you know, and you didn't have anywhere to go to look up answers back then. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have, home computers didn't exist. You didn't even have cell phones. None of that stuff existed back then. And, so I'm thinking I'm naive, right? I'm going to go to the Waianae Baptist Church on the west end of the island that we were going to on Oahu. That's what church we were going to because we grew up Baptist, both of us. And, First Baptist Church. And so I went there, expecting to get an answer from the church, and I was able to express it, because remember I've been trained to deal with extreme emergencies under extreme pressure. I've been through prisoner of war training, SEER school it's called, done all that, you know, so I've got a pretty strong mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. So if I have to focus and pull myself back, I can do that. But I expressed it to the pastor, and this was a guest pastor that weekend, and the other one was on vacation, and so he just kind of tilted his head oddly and looked at me kind of strange and turned his back on me and walked off. And I was just dumbfounded again because I thought I was going to get an answer there. And at first I was just dumbfounded and walked out, didn't know what to do. And then later I got angry. Then I got angry with God because I didn't get an answer from God either. I felt like I got kicked out of heaven, and then I got kicked out of the church 4 days later. And so I was just angry and kind of lived that way for 10 years. Didn't want anything to do with God, church, nothing. Didn't look into it, didn't seek into it. But then I started seeking again, and kind of, you just can't ignore that. It never goes away. There wasn't a day that went by in my life since then that I didn't think about it and wish it would happen again. So I started trying to understand it more, and over the next 25 years, I learned a whole lot about the nature of the universe and consciousness and all the different religions in the world. And I've kind of walked away from religion. My perspective on that now is that a lot of them have similar spiritual principles that applied to what I experienced and felt on the other side. But they also all had man-made agendas in them that didn't have anything to do with what I experienced on the other side. And so then I started looking at more of a spiritual perspective, of just my own particular one-on-one contact with the conscious God of my understanding. And I learned everything I could about the nature of the universe, how the Big Bang, from everything from subatomic particles to how the universe evolved and what we think we know anyway, and up to and including, supermassive stars and quantum physics, quantum electrodynamics, quantum holographic theory, you name it, I looked into it. And I still don't have all the answers, but I'll tell you, nobody can tell you what happens, how subatomic particles pop in and out of existence, and nobody can tell you what happens when you cross the event horizon of a supermassive black hole. God can, and so I don't have all the answers. I'm still looking just like everybody else, but I know God's real. I know the love was profoundly unconditional, and nobody can tell me otherwise because I was there. It's just that simple, and I was not allowed to have any other option but to know it was real, because I couldn't write it off as a dream because I was awake. And so that's kind of my story. And the best analogy I've been able to come up with on what that love felt like is, if you have a sphere of the universe that we can see, we know it's bigger, but we can't see any further than that because the light has not had time to get here. But it's 13.8 billion years we can see in any one direction. So that's 27 point something, over 27 billion light years across, right, of this sphere. So imagine the universe that we can see is filled with, ubiquitous with life, and that the concept of motherhood is a universal concept. And so a mother, when they first hold their baby, when it's first born, that is the most precious moment of their life. Well, it felt like I was so precious to God that it was at the end of the life of the entire universe, and I was being loved, held, and cradled by every single mother that ever lived throughout the entire history of the universe, everywhere, all at once.
Wow.
And as awesome as that sounds, that analogy sucks. It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. I could speak like that for 1 billion years nonstop and never come close. I don't even know how to express it. I can't. That's why they call it ineffable. It just is. And I knew I was home. I had a sense of this energy that I was home, and I knew it. And I did not want to leave, and I was not happy. I had to come back. And,
it's beautiful. Beautiful story.
I've spent every day of my life thinking about that every single day. Not a day go by I don't think about it.
We were going to bring in Audrey. And Audrey, when we met, you and I met at the UFO festival in Exeter, Tony. And
yes.
So we're going to bring in Audrey. He is he has a lot of information regarding the stars. And hello, Audrey. How are you?
Hi.
We have Tony here. I don't know if you were hearing his testimony. He had a beautiful testimony of, would you call it a near-death experience, or you had another term for that, right, Tony?
Spiritually transformative experience. They call it an STE instead of an NDE.
Did you happen to listen in to his testimony about how he went into this space, that he actually became as the particles around him and was observing from all different points of view?
The transitional point that's between here and forth.
Can you explain because he was curious to understand what that experience was that he went through, and with your amazing perspective, I thought maybe you could shed some light on it.
When you die, your light being crosses into a transitional period, a transitional zone between here and the fourth. It's I guess you could refer to it as 3.5. And as you wait there, you become aware of everything around you, every particle, every quark, every photon. Everything you feel is alive around you. All at once.
That's exactly the way it felt. It was like it was all conscious.
You feel more of a sense of everything rather than a sense of self. You can feel through any particle. You can feel through any other being in your realm that you perceive in front of you or around you. It does not matter where they are or how far they are. You feel like you're connected as one.
And by the way, you used the word feel. That was what, other than the visuals I was getting in the light, it was all about feeling. Every bit of it was powerful, and it was about feeling. So it was the nature of the heart. I know the heart of God because it was blasted right through me. And so it was literally all about feeling.
Our Creator is very real. He resides in the seventh, not in the sixth, not in the fifth or the fourth or the third, but His consciousness is always with us. And this is something even on Lyra that we acknowledge. We don't believe in religions. We don't believe in the dogma of this society. We don't believe in division. But we do believe in our Creator. Because we feel Him, we've seen Him, we've ascended into His realm many times. So, the key to ascension is not losing your body, it's to ascend with it. Become photoradionic energy by raising your vibratory state beyond the frequency fence here. As you do that, every quark in your body begins to glow. Your body begins to physically glow of light, and you ascend out of this realm into the next. It's merely just tuning your frequency dial. Remember that every dimension is a different radio station. So when you increase your frequency beyond that of the frequency of the station you are within, you rise to the next. But there are stations in between too. There are microstations just like 100.0, 100.1, 100.2, and so on.
So is there something about intense emotions here because of the sheer terror I was experiencing right before I thought I was about to die and hit the fire truck triggered the frequency change?
It can. Fear can affect your frequency. You won't rise nearly as high in frequency if you feel fear, but when you feel love, you're more inclined to break the frequency fence and ascend. However, ascending without a vehicle, without your vessel, would be like going to space without a spacesuit or a vehicle. It's not logical. So when you ascend with your body, not without. So that's just why you reach a transitional phase between here and the fourth. The fourth is what you would perceive to be haven or heaven, as all of you say here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. I'm not sure about the body part because when, relatives have died, that their body's still here as far as I can tell. I don't know if that's for our benefit or if there's an etheric body that moves up and departs that body. That's what I think happens.
Bingo.
The goal of ascension is not losing your body. It's to ascend while your body is alive. To take it with you. You can take your body with you, but your clothes, your belongings will remain. So, when you ascend with your body, you reach the fourth plane, which in this case, this planet here would be there, in another form, what we call Terra. So there is another place you go. It's a planet of light. Everything is so very bright there and beautiful. Some colors that you perceive are beyond your comprehension here with human eyes. Everything there is connected. Everyone is connected. You feel everyone, you hear everyone in the very same fashion that we do on Lyra. Although this plane is much dimmer, it's not nearly as bright because of the much lower frequency states that you find here in lower densities. Where you are in the fourth, you are a much higher level of light. You are not nearly as dense. Everything around you glows. Everyone around you glows. You appear as light.
Radiates, yeah.
Absolutely. You can hear frequencies. You can actually feel vibratory frequencies in the form of sound. You hear the frequencies in the air. You hear the frequencies, the resonance off of the animals, the plants, and everyone around you. You actually feel through them.
It's all of it is a form of light. Everything's made with light. I figured that out. And the most luminous thing in existence is love. Therefore, love creates the light. Because it's love can do that, then the consciousness of God consciousness, and this is what I believe, have come to believe, has utilized the light to create and make everything else with it. So literally, because the light is made by love, and then everything else is made with light, everything is love. Everything. Absolutely everything is love.
And everything is light. Everything is the same. And thus, everything you look at here, I hear people talk about a holographic universe. That is not so far from the truth.
Dr. Edgar Mitchell and Dr. Rudy Shield are both physicists. Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon. He died just last year. They have to jointly work together and created a quantum holographic theory, mathematical theory, that proves the existence of all these other dimensions and how all of these spirit beings and everything else can actually exist. And they've done that with mathematical theory and proven that.
Absolutely. And I'm merely just verifying. So, quartz. Within the quartz, you find what scientists have been trying to identify through their string theory, photoradionic waves, which are made of two things, frequency and vibration. Those two forms of energy can be affected by love, as you very clearly stated. What happens when a quark is highly excited is it blows away from the nucleus of its atom. It highly vibrates in energy, creating the illusion of light. It glows very brightly. This is what a photon is. A photon is merely just a quark without a nucleus of an atom, without an atom, blown away from its source at high velocity. So the frequency of which these quarks reach when their vibratory state is increased determines the color of the light that you perceive. Your eyes are designed to detect vibratory frequency from quartz as they collide. This creates the illusion of objects around you in your environment based on different densities, different frequencies of quartz. They bounce off other objects.
Yeah, I kind of figured out a while back that this is all an illusion that we're living right now You know, I used to operate flight simulators too as an instructor flight engineer. And so over time, after I pieced all this together, I now came to the realization I am experiencing the most sophisticated life simulator ever invented. That's what we're doing. We're in a simulator.
In a way, that is very true.
Purpose of spiritual growth.
Everything, just like data in computers, communicates on a level of intention. It's a binary of the universe. Every quark communicates with the next. Every photoradionic wave shares energy with the next photoradionic wave, and thus cross multiple quarks. They can share energy between them in frequency. This is why they can sit united within a nucleus of an atom. So, energy and intention and love all go together. Vibration, intention, and love. The three most powerful things in this universe. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we're swimming in an ocean of it. Literally.
Everything around
consciousness
is the same thing. Even the very air that you are breathing is made of the same thing.
I know. And our consciousness, it's all about the nature of consciousness. Our consciousness is what, and our intentions, and I say this in some of I'm a guest speaker every now and then, and I just spoke last July at the International Association for Near-Death Studies Conference in Orlando. And one of the things I say is, you know, that prayer that I said that night, manifested that event. And we all talk about prayer, and a lot of people believe in prayer, and they believe it really works and it's powerful. Well, there's a reason for that. Okay. And then I tell people, that's because it's coming from your consciousness and your mind, and it's being sent out to the quantum field of the universe, and it will give back to you what it thinks you want. So what I tell people is not only careful what you ask for, because you just might get it, but understand this. Even though conscious prayer is a good thing, and we do that on purpose, all thought is prayer. All of it. So careful what you are thinking, you are going to manifest it.
We are creators, all of us.
All the time.
It's the reality of which we are within.
What's that?
So we are all creators, all of us. We create the reality that we are within. Every individual here is their own universe in many different ways.
Yes. And we're co-creators with God at the same time.
But all of them united as one, whether they acknowledge it or not. Each individual here is the same. Everyone is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is one.
Right.
All is love, and love is one.
I feel very blessed right now, and it's just really a beautiful exchange of ideas. And starting from the beginning of the show, we had some very interesting information come through with JP. And Tony, your story is very, very touching. And of course, Audrey, you know, I love the way that you helped to take that information and expound upon it, so that where there are some gaps of information, maybe you can fill in and provide greater insight. Clearly, Tony has been through an experience that not everyone gets to go through in their personal lifetimes. So
it's a very rare opportunity to see a glimpse of a higher frequency. It truly is. And that's an amazing thing to meet someone else that had seen it.
It was more than a glimpse, I'll tell you that. I was looking right at it. It was a full-blown experience, and there was no holding back. It was way more than just a glimpse. Because it blasted through my essence of being. And, you know, I wish I had better words for it. I really do. But,
English language, unfortunately, is very limited.
yeah.
well, language is when it comes to trying to express what that was like.
So Tony, even your expression about God, and the awe of what you went through, and the way he, Audrey, the way he described it is like, having all the mothers in the world. How did you say it?
I said that, with having a universe that's ubiquitous with life, and the concept of motherhood is a universal concept. it felt like I was so precious to God that I was going to be the last newborn baby at the end of the life of the universe, being loved, held, and cradled by all the mothers that ever lived everywhere before that all at once. And as wonderful as that sounds, that analogy stinks and doesn't come close to the reality that I can speak like that for a billion years nonstop and not even come close to scratching the surface of what it was really.
It's the ultimate expression of love.
Yes. And even, I mean, those words don't come close.
There are no words here to describe that level of love. No one can comprehend just how much he truly cares.
I was at an IONS meeting in Needham, Massachusetts for the Boston IONS group a couple of years ago, and there was a music professor from Dartmouth was there, and he was doing studies and research about what sounds people had heard when they were on the other side. And I had never really thought about it up to that point. When he said that, I'm like, you know what? I didn't hear anything. And that's when I termed the phrase divine silence when I was talking to him about it. And he goes, and I explained to him I saw briefly, but I saw him what happened and that there was no sound. He said that I had reached the pinnacle, of that experience. But I don't think so, because I had the urge to merge, and there would have been a lot more had I been allowed to go into that light further. So I don't think it was the pinnacle. I think it was just the doorway. If that's just the doorway, woohoo, baby! Oh man, we're gonna have a great ride later, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really inspirational.
Yeah, talk about, yeah.
Wow.
Man. So I totally believe there's a whole lot more, because I sensed it. I could feel that. But I wasn't allowed to go any further. And I think had I been allowed to go, I would not have come back, and it would look like this extremely physically fit 24-year-old Navy sailor had just died in his sleep for no apparent reason, because I would have left my body and said, none of this mattered. I had a wife next to me. I had a 3-year-old son in the next room. I did not even consider them. You can't. Your consciousness is overwhelmed with the whole experience, and nothing back here had any concern whatsoever. No inkling of it. It just is not even a thought. And you know, years later, my son is obviously an adult now. He just retired from the Marine Corps after 20 years, and he's about 4 or 5 years ago, I was a guest speaker at the Virginia Beach IONS, and during my conversation and my speeches, I brought up the fact that I can't wear a watch anymore. Ever since that happened to me, I cannot wear a watch. They die. If I put a watch on within a week, it quits. And then my son said, my son said, and this, I never knew this till then, my son said at that meeting, he goes, yeah, I can't wear a watch either. And I went, oh my God, I know why. He goes, why? I said, because that wall where all the light was coming through at the end of my bed, your crib was on the other side of that wall, and you were in the light too. You were just too young to remember. But it changed you too. And that's when we first realized 4 years ago that I never knew that till 4 years ago that my son couldn't wear a watch. So that was more confirmation for me.
Now you understand. Go ahead, Jacob.
Thanks. Well, I've been listening carefully to your story. Obviously, here's the thing. Many of the people that I've spoken to in the last few years, not a similar story, but everyone has been through a shock.
Oh yeah, it was a shock to the system.
But here's the thing. Okay. That's one component. Now, we know, I don't want to go too far into it, but there has been a certain group on this planet who have exploited this facet of human experience, which is what happens when you are shocked in different states of mind. And you, what signified you as to create the miracle, and I think this is part of it, and you can comment maybe later, Audrey, but combination, the miracle has happened to me when I have been in a situation of distress plus love. That, I was just maybe idly thinking about a woman that I fancied or something, as you do. Like, I'm Metis, right? See? the pings agreed. So, but that thought filled me with love, filled my heart. And then I said, help. And help arrived immediately. And I think that this is some kind of key to, in your moment of distress, if you're placed in a point of distress, is to bring love in. Think of who you love the best, whoever it might be, without any shame or guilt, but just bring that person into your heart. And that's when the miracles start happening. Comments?
Well, I think that kind of happened to me when we started running off the runway.
I think because that was, you were saying that was what you were saying, is that you were thinking of your son who you love dearly.
Yes.
And that's what caused the miracle.
Yes.
That's the trigger, I believe. So, yes, please go ahead.
It's heart-based.
There was a time in front of a Circle K nearby. John and I, we were sitting out in front of it and talking. And I was talking about my son, how much I love him. And as I did so, my vibratory state increased so much that I was beginning to emit light. I started noticing that everything around me was beginning to phase. The air around me began to heat up, and I could feel every single thing around me all at once. And what that is the beginnings of ascension. In front of the public in the parking lot and the security cams, I was beginning to ascend. So I fought it. Not because I didn't want to ascend, but because I made a promise to my friend here that I would not ascend without him. So we got up. John did not know what to do. He kept asking me, is there something I can do to help? Is there something I can do to help? And I told him no. I said, this is something I have to do for myself. We went for a walk to go back home, and I had to burn off some of that vibratory energy so that I would stop glowing. And I did. So throughout that night, though, I was hitting some very high peaks of vibration again. Once again, thinking about my son, my middle child. He told me that he wanted to see his daddy be a hero again. And thinking about those words really warmed my heart when I was talking to John about it that night.
What did he mean by that? Be a hero.
It's a conversation I wouldn't want to have over the radio per se.
Okay.
But what I will say is that I love my children very much. And that connection, that power of love is incredibly strong, and the things it can do are beyond your comprehension until you ascend.
That power that I sensed that the love has is infinite power. It was infinite. I knew that. There are no limits to that power at all. Never will be. And it's eternal.
So Audrey, if you weren't listening earlier, Tony has an extensive military background, and so the word hero probably was assuming that you had a military background. Or if you do, I don't know, but so that's the language that came up. But yeah, this is a phenomenal conversation. Keep going. We have 2 minutes. JP, what do we have?
Well, we started late. Let me just see how long the recorder's got, and I'll maybe we put. I've got no show, thing? but I've got. Yeah, no, it's okay. We're going to have a little extension, but 52. So we got about 6 more minutes. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. My son wanted me to make a difference in this world. He didn't want me to give up. I was very tired after I left my ex. I was forced away from my family that I had developed here. Everything I cared about was taken away from me. Those words my son had told me before had resonated so deep in me that I decided to heal myself one more time. I didn't always look this young. For a while when I was with my ex, I was breaking down really quickly. I was aging. I started looking very old. So I healed my age, as you can very clearly see. It took 2 years, but because of my son, I'm talking to all of you now.
It's a beautiful story. I feel the same way about my son. You know, there's a bond that you have. It's pretty amazing, and even when things are difficult, it makes you want to go the extra mile. I mean, something that you wouldn't do for yourself. You know, I was inspired to go back to college. I was inspired to, you know, get through different kinds of jobs and just make ends meet. And whatever he needed, I always figured out a way to do it. So it's an inspiration. Sometimes I think that they're here to support us, and we think we're supporting them. I think they're here to support us and help us lift. So that's a great story.
Sometimes that familial connection is very powerful and enough to get you to prime your engine just a little while longer, running on empty.
Well, that happened to me about 5 years ago, too.
Accomplished. Go ahead.
I said that happened to me about 5 years ago, too. I've got spinal injuries from used to ride in a centrifuge, pulling high G-forces in the Navy and all the other hard training you have to do to stay physically able to do your job as an aircrew personnel that's doing missions thousands of miles out to sea. I've been rated as 100% permanently totally disabled by the VA, and they were doing to me what they were doing to everybody. They were just throwing pills at me, and I was being drugged to death, and I nearly died from it. But because of the love for my family, I knew I could have left if I wanted to, but I didn't. I wanted to be here for them, and I healed myself too, just like you're talking about, and I found ways to do that. Now I'm exercising in the gym again. I'm playing golf again. I'm back. And so.
You feel like you have vitality and youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 59 years old. I can work out for 2 hours straight in the gym, just like I did when I was 24. So.
Wonderful.
It's all about
you
what you believe.
You truly do. So you look amazing. You truly do.
Thank you. It wasn't without a lot of hard work. And holding a lot of people accountable at the VA. They don't know the power that's behind me, but I do. And there's a lot of scandals and corruption going on at the VA. And since they did that to me and they stomped all over my rights, I have now become their worst legal nightmare. And I get the ability to litigate on my own. I told them, you pissed off the wrong Navy chief, and now you get to deal with it. And so we've organized Veterans Online. I can reach 500,000 people now in a matter of a few minutes with Facebook and emails. We're training each other how to go after these corrupt people. Soon, Jessica, you're going to hear a story on New Hampshire Public Radio, and when it comes out about what happened in this hospital in Manchester, that director is going to have no other option but to resign from the VA. If the government won't clean this up, then we'll do it for them. And so that's the power I have behind me, and I know it. The light never fails. Ever. Never. And so it's all about truth, and it's all about love, and I'm not doing this out of revenge or vengeance or resentment or any of that. I love everybody. I just don't like some people's behavior, and I love everybody, so I want to protect those that are being harmed. And if you get in the way, well, we had an old saying in the chief's mess in the Navy when the junior troops screwed up, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. And so here come the consequences. So that's kind of who I am now. And,
yeah. Well, I think the next thing we need to do is introduce you to Captain Max Steele.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think we'll have a lot to talk about because he also had some kind of incident going on with the VA, and he was pretty upset about it. So you guys both have that military background. And,
yeah.
Well, what they failed to realize, and I said this to them, is that you guys don't understand what you've done, do you? I said, you have pissed off several generations of the most highly trained, well-educated, disciplined warriors the world has ever known. Now we know who you are and what you're doing, and we are 500,000 strong, and we are coming after you next. We do not fear you. We are coming after you. And they are scared now, and they should be.
Okay, so we're close. The end of the show is here. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining us. Audrey, it's always a pleasure. Thank you. And JP, thank you also. Tony, where can they reach you on Facebook?
My name, Tony Woody. Just look for me.
Okay.
That's my name on Facebook. I mean, I've got Facebook name. Group is my name.
We came from the future by way of past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.